I'm going to generate how to put a simple trigger mechanism, in this case a lever, into the Unreal Engine, and we're going to put a trigger volume around it that will enable that lever to animate when the character gets near it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop a static mesh into the scene, and this basically is just a simple representation of the base of the lever. So if I go over here and click on Blueprint, Add Script, I can click on that. I'm going to put the blueprint in my level design folder, and I'm going to call this Big Switch. And there we go. And if I look in the content folder, you can see that there is now a big switch in the folder. So here's the switch, or rather this is just the base of the switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a lever in, and again if I let go of this, you can see that the mesh for the lever is dropped into the scene. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this slightly so that I can tell that the lever is not operated. What I'm going to do later is I'm going to make this transform here 0, 0 in location and 0, 0, 0 in the rotation, and that will basically mean that the lever goes back to this position. So there we are, there's the lever in the position. And the other thing I want to do is I want to have a collision around this, and so for that what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my big switch, and I'm going to add a component. The component I'm going to add is a box collision. So I'm just going to scale this up and move it into place. That looks good to me. I'm going to compile this. So now you can see that in the scene this is updated. So what I want to happen now is I want to put some actual script into this blueprint. So again I'm going to open it up again. So we were previously in the viewport, now I'm in the event graph, and I'm just going to zoom out of this so that I can select all of these nodes and delete them. And what I want to happen is I want there to be an event on the box collision. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to add an event for the box collision, and what I'm going to add is I'm going to add a begin overlap event. What I want to happen is I want this lever to move. So in order to do that, I'm going to drag and drop this in. So there's the lever. I'm going to pull off this pin, and I'm going to search for move component 2. And this will move the object, and I can just connect these together. So when this event happens, this function will fire, and this function will look at the big lever. It will animate it over time. In this case, I'm going to make it a second. Make it 1 second. And that will translate and rotate this to these positions. The position's not changing, but the rotation will. So I'm going to compile this, and then I'm going to play the play. So when the character goes over to this, when he gets close, it animates. So again, I'm just going to show that again. I hit play. You can see there's my character. When he gets over to the lever, it animates. Let's do that one more time. There we go. So that is how you can create an animated mesh, and that is basically how the doors work. So if we just open up the blueprint for the door, you'll see that it's a lot more complicated. And the reason that it's more complicated is because, well, first of all, there's two doors. So there's two sliding pieces, so they both have to do a move. And when the player gets outside of the bounding area, the doors also have to close. And then in order for the doors to open, we need to do some checking to see if we meet the requirements. So the first one is this a player? So our player type is a third-person character. So it needs to be a character that gets near the door. The other thing that we need to be checking is whether the door is set to void, because if it's true, it will always open. And if it's not set to void, we need to check that the player actually has in their inventory the thing that the door requires. And if that is true, the door will open.